Welcome to the Financial Coaches Podcast, where we talk about how to build your practice from startup to scale up while being the kind of coach your clients crave. Finally, a podcast for financial coaches. Here are your hosts, Maria Casillas and Cody Sizemore.
Hello and welcome back to the Financial Coaches Podcast. My name is Cody Sizemore, and I'm joined here by my lovely co-host, Maria Casillas. And today we're going to be talking about something that actually came up in our Facebook group, topic that kind of caught Maria's eye, actually, and she brought it to me and was like, you want to talk about this? And I was like, sure, why not? So with it coming from our Facebook group, that's actually like a really good shameless plug for me to just say, well, hey, if you're sitting here listening and you're going, what Facebook group? I don't know where you have been. Maybe this is your first time listening to us, or maybe you've heard us say it all the time, but you just forget about it. And so, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, if you're not in this Facebook group, you should join. And it's called the Financial Coaches Community by New Money Habits. Ask questions in there, give us updates. Connect with us because you never know. It might just end up on this show like the one that we're going to be talking about today. So with all that being said, Maria, how are you feeling today?
I'm great. Looking forward to this. I love giving shout outs to the people who are such great contributors in our group. And that's what we're going to do today. So I'm looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So tell us about the post. Tell us about the person and why it stood out to you.
Well, I can tell you that the post is from David Gibbs and Dave. Sorry, Dave. I just totally added the ID to your name. Yes, Dave Gibbs. And Dave is actually a really strong contributor in our group. And sometimes his post gets lots of interactions. And sometimes even the gems like this one show no interaction yet, but we're going to give it to him today on this show. So I will read the post to you, but I'm going to answer your questions out of order and say that the reason that it stood out to me is probably because it is so stinking relatable to my adult ADHD brain. I don't actually have that diagnosis, but man, I think I just missed the train on that one. So I'm going to read it to you, and then maybe you can tell me if it relates to you as well, Cody, that I'm not alone here. It says, I'm working on a bunch of cool things at the moment, but this time I'm making sure my pipeline stays full. Last year, when I was blessed with the ability to coach full-time, this crazy guy went for it. I was jumping all over the place, taking every side quest imaginable, and then, my clients have lessened. Where did they go? Oh, I stopped making sure my lead pipeline was flowing. It took me time to get it flowing again, but I learned a valuable lesson. Watch out for the shiny things, my friends. They get you off track. Stay focused.
Yep.
Are you just kind of marinating in that a little bit?
Yeah, I am.
I know that jumped out for me because I am a shiny thing chaser to the core. And I know sometimes it comes from a real place of, it's a place of, I don't know, intentionality, actually. Like, I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. And sometimes that means trying all of these wrong things in the meantime. And I do also know that sometimes that desire to quote unquote find the right thing is more me not being I don't know if grateful is the right word, content maybe with the thing that's in front of me. So it's not moving fast enough. It's not doing the
maybe
thing
even
I
confident.
thought. Maybe confident. Yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, that's a really good observation, Cody, that if I am not feeling,
my clients too,
it's amazing. It's why we brought you on the podcast. But yes, that's true. That if there's not confidence, if there's not gratitude, if there's not contentment in the thing that we're doing right now, it sometimes just feels easier to go and try the new thing. And then when that's not working, it's like, oh, but it was new. We really didn't know what we were doing, and so on and so forth. And so that, I think, is the part that stuck out for me. And then I think the part that stuck out for me wanting to bring it to your attention as well was the idea of keeping that pipeline full. And so we have two different ways that we can go with this. And I just want to say thank you again to Dave for bringing this up. And I'm going to let you take it in any direction that you find exciting, Cody.
Yeah, have you ever seen that GIF it's a GIF of an old commercial? I forgot. I think it's Ortega taco shells, right?
Okay.
Where it was an old commercial where this little girl, the family's like, "Do you want hard shell or soft shell?"
I have not
And she
seen
goes,
this.
"Why not both?" So let's talk about both of them,
Okay.
right?
I like it.
Both the being distracted by so many other things, and then also the pipeline side of
Okay.
things. So
I
let's talk
love
about the distractions side of things first. I think it is a confidence thing. I think that's probably the root of everything,
Mhm.
which then builds the other emotions that you were kind of talking about as well. And it even gives you permission to fail as
Mhm.
well, because if you try something new and it doesn't work, well, you can brush it off as like, oh, well, that was just new. That's not for me, kind
Right.
of thing.
Yep.
But then you find yourself in this like perpetual state of failing and trying something but never actually doing anything and doing things half-assed and like all this kinds
Mhm.
of stuff, like, and that's not good. you know
Mhm. Yeah,
so
doesn't serve anybody.
yeah, as you were reading the post and also just kind of talking about it as well, there was something that kind of came to mind to me. You've heard the phrase, most millionaires have 7 sources of income or something like that, right?
Mhm.
While that may be true, what they don't talk about is that the millionaires or the successful people, they're really, really good at one thing. And then because of that, they make a lot of money, they see the success, and then they take the resources from that one thing and they spread it into other things that are less of a um like a mental or physical workload on
Mhm.
them. That's more of like a passive income kind of source thing. So most successful people or millionaires are not doing 7 things all equally.
Mhm.
Usually
Yep.
it's one thing that they put a lot of time in and a lot of energy in, and they get a lot out of, and then they take the surplus of that and they invest it into these other things, right? So
Mhm.
that's something that is really important to remember, because oftentimes if we think like, oh, well, I need to do my main gig, then I got to do my side gig, then I got to do my side hustle, then I got this little thing going on, it can be very distracting and it can take you away from the main goal and the
Mhm.
main result.
Mhm.
So, the whole idea of like 80-20, like the 80-20 rule, right? Like you get 80% out of 20% that you put in, kind of thing.
Yep.
This falls in line with that. So I'm not going to lie to you. I've definitely had opportunities come across my plate to where they're like, hey, you could be doing this on the side and you can make some extra income. So, for example, I'm a musician. I've had people ask me to join their cover band, and they're like, we'll pay you $200 a month or $200 a show or something like that. I've had people ask me to book concerts from time to time, because that's what I used to do for a living, and get paid for that. I've had people ask me to run their books for like their photography business and stuff like that, which I've done in the past. But I've turned them all down because I'm like, it's best for me to focus on what I'm really good at
Mhm.
and driving that home,
Mhm. Mhm.
which then also helps with the whole pipeline thing. But before I get into that, I'm curious about your thoughts so far.
Yeah,
What's
well,
coming
I
to mind?
love the order of operations that you're bringing up. So,
Hmm.
like when you brought up the millionaire having, 7 sources of income, how they got really, really good at something first and then put that into 7 different ways of creating that slightly more passive income. Um, Also, when you're talking about, sticking with something that you're really good at, I would venture to say you're probably really good at all of those things. And
Hmm.
so it wasn't just that you're sticking with something that you're really good at. It's you made a decision to stick with something that you're really good at and dot dot dot. So you get
Hmm.
to fill in that blank. I don't know what that blank is for you, but that there was a reason that you chose this particular thing. And I know that when you first started out with this thing, it wasn't creating that instantaneous $200 a show, or, whatever you would have been able to trickle in with like the bookkeeping for the photographers, for example. But you stuck with it for a reason. I'm guessing maybe because we're just coming off the tails of last week's conversation, but I'm guessing due to principle in some some way that you wanted to stay in this lane, and by doing so are probably making more money than you would have with all of those other things. And once you get some of this other stuff going, if you decide, yeah, you know what? I've got a Saturday I don't want to do anything else with, I could do XYZ with it. Now you're back into that order of operation where it makes more sense to bring some of those things in.
Yeah, absolutely. And even something else I would add is that most successful people become successful simply just because they don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
Like
pure grit.
Like, and I'm not talking about like the cliche, like just don't give up kind of thing. Like what I'm talking about is that they just outlast everyone. Because there's a ton of people who, whether it be with a side hustle or whatever, or even this coaching business idea, right? There's so many people that will try and do coaching for 3 to 6 months. They'll have some struggles with it because it's a new thing, and then they'll give up. Or there's some people that will do it for a year or two at like a lower kind of level. And they're like, yeah, it's not really worth my time, or, I put a lot of stuff into, I put a lot of time into it. I'm not really getting a lot out of it. So I'm just going to slowly fade out kind of thing. Like that's what most people do. So if you're the type of person that's just like, I'm just not going to give up. I'm just not. Like, I'm just going to outlast everybody.
I wish people could see your face right now. Well, I mean, those who are watching can, but
yeah, you're just not going to give up, and you have this mindset of like, I'm going to outlast everybody. I'm going to outwork everybody. I'm going to outperform everybody. And I'm just not going to give up. People could try and keep up with me, but I'm just not going to give up. I'm going to outlast you. Like, those are the people who are actually successful. And with doing that, like, it causes you to be very laser focused. You can't get distracted with that. Like, you're on a mission kind of thing, So that's the other thing I wanted to add to that.
Yeah.
That side of things.
Yeah. I love it. And the frustrating thing for people who are super laser focused is that the people who are willing to give up after 6 months or a year are looking at people like you going, oh, well, that happened overnight.
Right.
And it didn't. It just didn't,
Yeah.
So because there's such a wind up to that success, the outward vision of success. But no one ever sees that build up. They just see the success and they're like, oh, well, Cody just decided one day he was going to do this, and all of a sudden he is. And so I want to be like Cody until they realize, oh, he had to do a whole lot of work. So I really don't want to be like Cody. I just want to have the success that Cody had. And so, there's that whole mental acrobatic thing going on as well. So
yeah, what I will say is that I've worked really, really hard to bring the luck that's been brought to me.
Amen, brother. I hear that.
For sure.
Yep.
I've worked really hard at being lucky.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. I feel the same way as a mom who had a graduate just this last week. I totally understand. It's so funny because it's like, well, I didn't do anything to get her there. Yeah, we totally did. So, and it took 18 years of buildup to have this successful person, go out into the world. So I understand that on a different level, and it shows up in all the areas of our lives.
Yeah.
So this pipeline thing, let's shift over to that because I think that's one of the things that Dave was actually saying. Hey, we recognize that when I didn't do all of the building of the pipeline, then all of a sudden I had no clients. Now, you and I talked about this a little bit. I don't know how many episodes back, but it was definitely, I think it was called something about ebb and flow. And we just talked about how that happened. Like when you stopped building your pipeline, you ended up 3 months or so later without any clients. And it seems as though that's what Dave's running into when he looks at this post, or at least that's what he ran into last year, learned his lesson and is doing something differently. So we don't have to go into all of the details, but let's definitely look at that a little bit more today.
Yeah, so you're right. We did talk about this a little bit more in depth in that ebb and flow episode. So if you haven't listened to it, you can go back and listen to it, or if you have listened to it, go listen to it again as a nice refresher. But the long and short of it is basically this: whatever sort of work you're doing for prospecting today will not show up or come to fruition for you for anywhere between 2 to 6 weeks from today. Right? So it's definitely that future-based thinking. It's the delayed gratification side of things as well. All those things that we as financial coaches try and teach our clients. Shocker.
I know. We have to
Shocker.
live what we
Right?
teach. Oh.
So I hate it when that happens. But that's essentially it.
Well,
And,
the flip is important too. I'm going to, sorry, I didn't mean, I said the flip side of that's important as well. That when you're not doing that, you're not going to feel the pain of that yet.
Correct.
And so I think that's partly what Dave's getting at here, is that when we just stop doing that prospecting, because we're in the process of looking for all the shiny things, it doesn't hurt us in the immediate aftermath, because we still have the clients that we gained 2-3 weeks, months ago. Now you fast forward a little bit and we're starting to reap the non-benefit of our lack of work.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because I actually wrote something down as I was listening to you read the post. And I think it's a really good analogy especially for us as financial coaches and what we do. I think it's like a really, really good analogy. And that's basically this: exactly what you just talked about how if you stop doing it, you don't really feel the pain of it in the moment. It's actually feels kind of nice because you're slowing down. You're not really doing much, but you feel the pain later on. Right? This is basically what I'm going to call a time spending habit. So thinking about spending habits in general, generally when people spend money, they feel really good in that moment. They feel excited. They get that dopamine rush. They get everything. But it's usually not until the bill comes for it that they're like, oh no. And all that regret and the fear and the anxiety starts to creep in. This is the same exact thing. It's just choosing how you're going to spend your time versus spending your money. And if you're choosing to spend your time, I don't want to say in like a wasteful manner, but maybe not as effective as it could be for generating your income and building your business, you're kind of frivolously spending your time. Well, then that bill's going to come, and you're going to have to figure out how to pay for it. And if you don't have any income generating, it's going to be really hard to pay for it. So you're essentially in debt of time at that point. But if you follow your budget, your time budget, meaning your systems and your structures and your standards for yourself, and you're consistent with your time budget, and you're intentional with your time budget, then hey, things are probably going to work out. You're probably going to see some forward progression. So it's the same line of thinking. We just as coaches need to adopt what we preach. And then things will start moving just like how it does with our clients.
Yeah. Great analogy.
Yeah.
Good observation.
I was very proud of that myself.
You should be.
So
it's what you get paid the big bucks to do on this show, right, Cody.
But yeah, the last thing I'll say about this is, the pipeline conversation and the time spending and all that kinds of stuff, that if we are consistent with that and we are intentional with it, it actually will allow us to just naturally be more focused on the one thing, and not be super distracted by the other things, because it's likely going to work out, pretty well, to where you're going to start getting some momentum, and, you're going to see things start to build and grow. And that's going to be exciting, which is going to make you want to do it even more.
And it will build the confidence that we talked at the beginning of having lack in. And that will help to build the gratitude and all of those other things that followed.
And that's how you build confidence. It's all those small daily wins that then stack on top of each other. And then they become macro wins, So yeah, it's exactly how you build confidence.
Very cool. Well, we had no idea what direction this was going to go in, but there are lots of golden nuggets, I think, thrown into this particular conversation. So I'm really glad that we had it. Dave, thanks again so much for being willing to post in our group, even when you're not getting those interactions that I know sometimes can feel like, why am I doing this? Now you know we are actually reading it, we're getting value from it, and we really appreciate you doing that. That said, we want to just thank each and every other one of you for all of the interactions that you're giving us, and we hear you, we see you, we are grateful for you, and we look forward to seeing you again next week for the next episode of the Financial Coaches Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Coaches Podcast, brought to you by New Money Habits and Sizemore Financial Coaching. Submit your questions to our hosts by emailing podcast@newmoneyhabits.com. Be sure to subscribe to be notified of future episodes and join our growing group of like-minded coaches on Facebook. And until next time, happy coaching.